Welcome back to Red Automotive. And if you can't tell, I'm busy today. Now, I didn't record the last, I don't know how many hours worth of work I've been doing, but it's because it was just tedious and stupid, and I did it the sketchy way. In fact, I missed something. I gotta fix that. Cool. Well, today's video is going to be the first step to rebuilding the Chevelle. Finally. I've been cutting on this damn thing for months. So my next step is going through, and I'm just going to hit all of this rust with the wire wheel, because once quarter panels and that go on, there's no painting it. So I'm not really worried about taping stuff off. If I hit places I don't want to, it's going to just get taped and painted differently later anyways. Right? That's not really my concern today. I'm debating on touching the frame or not. I don't know. I mean, I should, so it looks nice, but at the same point, this car is going to be driven like hell. Eventually, I will completely replace this chassis. We'll see. We'll see how I feel tonight, because honestly, I want to get this done tonight. It's almost 8 o'clock. I've been out here all day. Been a good 10 hours so far. So I want to get paint on it. Doesn't mean I can't hit that with paint tomorrow either, because that is honestly possible. But wire wheel all of this, hit it with some paint, let her dry tonight so that tomorrow I can come out and I can set the trunk on here. Yeah. So wire wheel, vacuum, paint. I don't know if I'll record the vacuum, but another thing I didn't catch today is I fixed that. Fixed. I'm not a great welder. Don't judge me too hard. But it was just rusted out like hell. So I filled the spots. I got in there with the flap disc the best I could. Of course, it's not smooth. Probably hasn't been smooth in years. So I can keep rambling, or I can just get to work. So let's get to work. Like any other day, before I really get to doing what I'm supposed to, I allow my ADHD to take over, and I noticed this spot was, well, not done well by me. In order to get everything back into place, I kind of had to just beat it into submission and remove a little bit of metal there. This is what happens when you get a little overexcited with the flappy disc, which is exactly what I did. I had gone through and sadly did more damage than I had hoped when I was going through removing the remainder of the trunk. Now, thankfully, I was able to fix it properly-ish. I'm gonna say so when I put the trunk back in. That'll be for a later video. Now, here we are with the wire wheel. Now, one thing I learned is the grinder is rather vicious, as in there's a lot of torque and it's just all or nothing with this, at least where my current skill level is. Now, I'm not going through removing every single little bit of rust. For one, my wire wheel is far too large for that. I still need to invest in some tools. So that is something I will definitely be doing, and I have been doing as time goes, right? It's kind of see a need, fill a need type of situation. Milwaukee tools are expensive. I like expensive things, so I buy expensive things, which means take my time, and it kind of puts my projects on hold. So it's not a good thing, it's just a thing. Back to the actual topic of what the hell I'm doing. Just going through hitting all of the rust in all of the areas I plan on painting, at least, everything I can get. And the main goal was getting anything that's going to flake off out of the way, because if you hit that with the paint and it flakes off, then you really didn't solve anything. So I've got to go through and wire wheel, everything. I'm not taking down all the way to bare metal either when I'm hitting a lot of these areas. I'm just getting that surface rust off and going. Part of the mistake I did make was I was in a rather hurry that night as well. So I could have taken the time, and hindsight, I should have taken the time to do a little bit better. But it's done now. The roof was rather easy. Those little holes were, man, they were combative. I kept hitting in there, and you can't really tell because I got the video going so fast, but there was a lot of kickback of me hitting those little holes and the grinder just coming back at my face. So definitely recommend probably more PPE than you see me wearing in this video. But I'm still going to wear shorts and a t-shirt for the most part when I'm working out there. So, maybe do as I say, not as I do, because I'm definitely not as safe as I should be. I did forget to remove the clips, so whip those out as I'm hitting this. I'm not entirely sure what I plan on doing headliner wise. It's still a ways down the road, but it's really not. One thing I find myself doing as I'm working on projects is I'm constantly thinking about what I want this project to be when it's all said and done. For me, that's the excitement of any project, and it's why I work on multiple things. Like, I have another channel which I was doing custom computers. I still sit down in SolidWorks and take a day or two off the car and just design a random computer that I may or may not ever build, right? So back to the ADHD thing. The Chevelle has been, well, on my mind for, man, 20 years now. I've had this car for 20 years, and it has gone through many, many ideas. Right, at one point, I wanted just a twin turbo small block, and I thought it'd be cool to do these plexiglass racing stripes. I don't know if that's still a cool idea. I'm definitely not going to do that anymore. But at one time, I thought it was. Thought that's where I was going to go. I'm constantly back and forth on whether I want to keep the bench seat in there. I like the bench seat, but at the same time, if I do any form of high speed driving and cornering, it's going to whip me around. So, back to what I'm working on. I've got the paint, right? It's just a rust reformer. Again, the goal is to just make sure that I don't get back to where this car was. And before I started cutting all of this, like, the reason I had to cut this car so far down was there's just very little of the inner structure and the body itself that I could trust. Now, for some reason, the frame got lucky and the frame's just surface rust. But when I bought this car back in 2004, I think, the quarter panels were completely rusted on the bottom. The rear window was completely rusted all the way around, to the point that someone before me had fiberglass the window in. So if I ever removed that window, I would need to go through a decent portion of this work or custom work to replace all the way around that rear window because it was rusted. I didn't really know the extent of the rust around the front window until I was actually working on it, removing all of this. So when I went to pull up that front windshield, I didn't really know that it was essentially held in with bubble gum. So all the way around the front window was pretty much rusted as well. The floorboards are rusted. The trunk was rusted. I know when I the first time I went to put fuel in the tank, it literally just sprinkled out of the bottom of the gas tank because that was rusted as well. You could see through the trunk and see your feet. There are two massive holes under the back seat, and those kind of got patch paneled, but not exactly correctly. So, yeah, I cut this car way down, and I've had a lot of people disagree with the way I'm doing, with, concern of putting it back together. I've thought about it. I have a buddy of mine that I argue with regularly, and, he's what motivated me to go down to this level of work, and it was worth it. Whew, what a day. I think I'm 12 hours going in the shop for what you missed. Well, I recorded 2 videos today because I did enough work. Parts you missed would be cutting out the wheel wells and finishing off the trunk removal, which is a pain in the ass. I wire wheeled everything. I did a paint job. Now, mind you, this is just rust protector, right? So the only reason it's on there is just to prevent more rust. And it's a good 10-foot paint job. It was quick. Got it on there so it can dry tonight. So if I have the energy tomorrow, I can come out and start on more work. I went with the flat black because, well, even if you can't see it, I still prefer matte. I will go with the matte finish on the car when it's all done. Interior will probably be a matte finish, as in whatever I paint on the interior. But all the surface rust is covered on the places that'll be covered with the sheet metal. I did not hit the inside super well. I decided not to do the frame, at least at this moment, which is kind of killing me a little bit inside, but it is what it is. Now, with that, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, comment down below. Feel free to talk shit about my paint job. She was quick. Used 2 cans of paint. Oh, before I forget, this is what I used. Nothing fancy. Something I didn't have to do a ton of finish work to and could just throw it on there, right? So if I wanted to, I could paint all this stuff, but again, it's just going to be hidden. That's why I didn't put a ton of work into the paint job. Just wanted to make sure that I don't redo all of the rust. Because putting a lot of work getting it out of there. So with that, thanks for sticking along for the ride. More to come. Thanks.